Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to transportation planning class. Today we will study the 4 steps of conventional travel demand forecasting. The travel demand forecasting process consists of 4 steps, namely trip generation, trip distribution, mode choice, and network assignment. Trip generation arises from the decision to travel for a specific purpose. For example, you have decided to eat lunch at a particular restaurant, so you have to start a trip, you have to start a journey. The next step is trip distribution. Trip distribution is mainly concerned with the choice of your destination. In this case, your destination will be a particular restaurant. And third step is mode choice. Now you have decided to eat lunch at a particular restaurant, so third step will be the choice of your travel mode, that is whether you want to travel on bike, on car, or on any other mode of transport. And fourth step is the network assignment, which deals with the choice of route or path, that what will be your preferred route for this concerned activity. Now we will study these steps one by one in detail. So the first step is trip generation. In trip generation, we calculate the number of trips generated or produced in each traffic analysis zone. Traffic analysis zone, we are using the abbreviation TAZ here in this lecture. So the number of trips that begin from each travel analysis zone, we are basically interested in finding out those number of trips that begin or originate from any travel analysis zone. And trips are basically produced or attracted. What is the difference between trip production or trip attraction, we will study in the coming slides. And number of trips is a function of travel analysis zones, land use activities, socio-economic characteristics of traffic analysis zone, and the population. So the land use activities of any traffic analysis zone means that what are the kind of activities being performed in that zone, whether the traffic analysis zone is of residential, commercial, or industrial type. And the socio-economic characteristics means the income or the automobile ownership level of the dwellers in that traffic analysis zone. And third one is the population. Obviously, if a traffic analysis zone is more populated, it will generate more number of trips. So here we will study the difference between trip production and trip attraction. That what is meant by trip production and what is meant by trip attraction. Trip production is basically the home end of a home-based trip or the origin of a non-home based trip. And trip attraction is the non-home end of a home-based trip or the destination of a non-home based trip. What is meant by home-based trip or non-home based trip? A home-based trip is one which has a home end at either of its position, like the origin or the destination. One end will be the home end in a home-based trip. Either it can be the origin or it can be the destination. But in a non-home based trip, no end will be the home end, like both the origin and destination will be non-home ends. So here in this example, we can see that journey has been made from home to work, then from work to school, and then again back from school to home. So here in this example, we have two home-based trips. One is from home to work and the other is from school to home, because home is at the either end. In one case it is at the origin end, and in the second case it is at the destination end. And we have one non-home based trip which is from work to school, because in this trip no end is the home end. So for zone 1 we have two productions. One production because it is and both the productions are because it is the home end of a home based trip. So zone 1 is the home, and it is the home end of the home based trip which is from home to work, and the second is from school to home. It is also a home based trip, and home end is the home end for that trip. So it has two productions. Now we come to zone 2. Zone 2 is the work end. So it has one production and one attraction. Production in a sense that it is the origin of a non-home based trip. Work to school is a non-home based trip and work is its origin. And attraction in the sense that it is the non-home end of a home based trip. Home to work is a home based trip and this work is the non-home end. So at zone 2 we have one production and one attraction. For zone 3 we have two attractions and zero production. Attractions are in the sense that this end school, it is the non-home end of a home-based trip. This trip from school to home is a home-based trip, and school is the non-home end of a home-based trip. So we have one attraction and the second attraction because it is the destination of a non-home-based trip. Work to school trip is a non-home-based trip and school is its destination. So it has two attractions and zero production. So hopefully the difference between trip production and attraction is clear. Now, trip generation depends on three measurable variables, which are the land use, socio-economic characteristics of travelers, and the location of travel analysis zone, as we have discussed earlier. And trip generation modeling approaches consist of these three approaches. First one is cross classification, second is trip rate based analysis, and third is regression analysis. In cross classification, we mainly classify the socio-economic data into different categories. Like we have the income or the automobile ownership characteristics of the dwellers in a particular traffic analysis zone, and we classify this data, and on the basis of that classification we find out the number of trips generated from any particular traffic analysis zone. The second method is trip rate based analysis, where we find out the monthly or daily trip rate, and from that trip rate we find out the number of trips generated either monthly or daily from a particular traffic analysis zone. And third one is regression analysis. Here in this lecture we will be discussing the regression analysis, as it is the easier method and it can easily be possible using any statistical package like SPSS or Minitab. So we will study an example of trip generation using the regression method. Here in this example, the zonal trip production per day in any zone of an urban region is given by this regression model, and we have four independent variables: x1, x2, x3 and x4. x1 is the zonal population, x2 is the average zonal monthly income, x3 is the average vehicle ownership, and x4 is average number of adults per household. So we have this data for three zones, and we want to estimate the number of trips generated from each zone. So by using these values of independent variables and using any particular statistical software, we will be able to get the values of these coefficients beta naught, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3 and beta 4, and using these values of the regression coefficients and the values of independent variables, we will be able to predict the values of trips generated from each zone. So by using any statistical software, we can get the values of these regression coefficients, and putting these values into the regression equation, we will be able to predict the number of trips generated per day from each zone. So here in this example you can see that 6,294 trips are generated per day from zone 1, 8,007 trips are generated per day from zone 2, and 7,098 trips per day are generated from zone 3. Second step of travel demand forecasting method is trip distribution. In trip distribution, two known sets of trip ends are connected together without specifying route and sometimes without specifying mode to form a trip matrix between known origins and destinations. This is the basic form of the trip matrix, which is generated in trip distribution process. So here you can see that the matrix elements from T11 to TNN, these are basically the interzonal flows, or we can say that these are basically the flows which are generated from one zone and they are distributed to another zone. If we take the row sum of these values, so we will get the productions, and if we perform the column sum of these values in the matrix, we will get the attractions. Here you can see if we add up all these values and we perform the column sum, so we will get the attractions, in which the second subscript is the same, which denotes the destination, and the first subscript is changing, which denotes the origin. But if we perform the row sum, here we will get the productions for a particular zone from where the trips have been generated. So in this case, if we perform the row sum, the first letter of the subscript is same, whereas the second letter of the subscript is changing. The first letter of subscript denotes the origin zone, and the second letter of the subscript denotes the destination zone. And we have this basic rule that the sum of all attractions should be equal to sum of all productions. So the methods used for trip distribution process are basically categorized into two main methods, which are the growth factor methods and synthetic methods. Growth factor methods consist of constant factor method, average factor method, freighter method, and furnace method, whereas the synthetic methods consist of gravity model and opportunity models. The growth factor methods are basically more ideal or more suited for those areas which are smaller and have less chances of potential growth, whereas the synthetic methods are more frequently used, and the gravity model is the best model, and it is more frequently used for trip distribution. So we will also discuss gravity model in detail and solve an example using the gravity method. The gravity model is called gravity model because it's analogous to the Newton's law of gravitation. Newton's law of gravitation, if you remember, it states that the two bodies attract each other with a force which is directly proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between their centers. So analogous to this law, the gravity method states that the trips produced in a zone will be distributed to each other zone according to the relative attractiveness and relative accessibility of each zone. Now, what is the difference between the attractions and the attractiveness of a particular zone? So remember that attractions are a specific input. Attractions are basically the number of trips, whereas the attractions to a zone depend upon the zone's relative attractiveness relative to all competing zones and separation from producing zones. The attractiveness of a zone could be because of its land use activities, because of its nature, because of its accessibility to all the central business district or to all the educational or hospitals or other institutions. So on the basis of its importance or on the basis of its attractiveness, it basically attracts more number of trips. So the basic formula for gravity model is here presented in this slide, and the formula is Tij equals to Pi Aj Fij Kij divided by the summation of Aj Fij and Kij. So now we will discuss these variables one by one. N stands for the number of zones in a steady area, I means the origin zone, J means the destination zone, Tij is basically the trips produced at zone I and attracted to zone J. Pi stands for trips produced from zone I, Aj stands for trips attracted to zone J, Fij is the friction factor for the interchange Ij, and friction factor is basically the inverse of the impedance related to travel. Impedance means the resistance to travel, and it could be in terms of travel time or fuel costs or the basically all those factors which resist in performing a journey. Kij is the socio-economic characteristics of zone. These are not accounted for otherwise, but it affects the travel pattern. So normally you will see that the value of Kij is assumed as 1 in the trip distribution examples, but if it is provided that it is not 1 and you have been provided with some other value, so you have to use that value. So now we will discuss an example of the gravity model. Here you can see that we have 4 districts, and we have the production and attraction of each district, and we have the travel time from one district to another. So on the basis of those travel time, we will estimate the friction factor, which is Fij, and it depends on the travel time. As you can see from here that when the travel time is increasing, the value of friction factor is decreasing. So it means that travel time is a measure of the impedance. So it means for higher impedance, your friction factor is decreasing, which means that you are less likely to travel in case when your travel time increases. So it is logical, and we will use this formula for calculating the interzonal flows. So we will develop this kind of trip matrix, where this is the matrix which we have studied earlier. We have studied its basic form, and this is the final matrix which we get by applying this formula. Here the 16 elements of this matrix, 1 2 3 4, and so we have 4 rows, so we have total 16 elements of this matrix. These elements have been estimated using this formula: Tij equals to Pi Aj Fij Kij divided by summation of Aj Fij Kij. I denotes the origin zone and J denotes the destination zone. Fij value we have taken from this table, which is dependent on the travel time, and Kij we have been given in question that Kij is 1. So using this formula we have estimated all these 16 values. So if we perform the row sum of these values, we will get the productions, and if we perform the column sum of these values, we will get the attractions. So by performing the row sum, we get the same productions as we have been provided in the question, but while performing the column sum, the computed attractions are basically different from the given attractions, and in ideal case these computed attractions should be equal to the given attractions. Here we can see that the computed attraction is 2568, whereas in the question we have been given the given attraction as 2800. So this value should be in close proximity to the given attraction in order for our question to be correct. So what we will do, we will perform another iteration, we will perform a second step, and we will adjust our attractions so that after performing the second step, our computed attractions are in close proximity with the given attractions. So we will adjust our attractions. The formula for adjusted attraction is that adjusted attraction equals to the given attraction divided by computed attraction multiplied by the given attraction. So we will adjust each and every value of the attractions. So for first zone, the adjusted attraction will be 2800 divided by 2568 multiplied by 2800. 2800 is the given attraction for first zone, and 2568 is the computed attraction for zone 1. So our adjusted attraction comes out to be 3053 trips. Similarly, we will perform this step for all the 4 zones, and now we will use these 4 values as the attractions, and we will substitute these values in this formula for Aj. So our Aj will for first zone will become 3053 instead of 2800, and we will perform this second iteration. So we will again get 16 values for Tij, and now if we perform the row sum, so we will get again the same values of productions, and if we perform the column sum of each respective column, so we get the computed attractions in very close proximity to the given attractions. For example, here you can see that 2794 is very close to 2800. Similarly, 6506 is very close to 6500, and similar is the case for other columns as well. So there is a thumb rule that the computed attractions should be in the range of 5% on either side of the given attractions, like the value of 2800 plus minus 5% of its value. So this computed attraction should lie within that range. So here we can see that these computed attractions are in the permissible limit. So we will stop our iterative procedure here, and we will conclude that these 16 values are basically the interzonal flows which we were interested to find out in the trip distribution process. Now third step is the modal split. So in modal split, we split the trips to different available transportation modes by analyzing the people's decisions regarding the mode of travel they use. So this step is mainly involved with determining the modal share of each mode of transport. Trip maker can select among several travel modes. Modal split model is concerned with trip maker's behavior regarding the selection of travel mode. The pattern of mode choice remains constant as long as the conditions remain unchanged. When conditions change, traveler's response will change with varying degree. Now, what is meant by the traveling conditions? Traveling conditions include like the price of fuel, the fare of transit system, the toll collection, etc. So if the prices of fuel or the prices of the fares of transit system, if they are on a rise consistently, so it will automatically change the trip maker's decision of selecting a particular mode of travel. For example, if there is a huge rise in the prices of fuel, so the trip maker will be forced to convert his decision from traveling on his own personal vehicle, and he will be forced to travel using the transit system. So these are basically the conditions of traveling, and trip maker's choice of travel is basically dependent on these travel conditions. What affects mode choice? Characteristics of the trip. Characteristics of trip means the purpose of trip, that whether your trip is for work purpose, like you are going to your workplace, or you are going to your school or college or university, or you are going for like it's an emergency trip, you have to get somewhere in the least possible time. Then second is the characteristics of trip maker. It involves the automobile ownership level of the trip maker, the monthly or yearly income level of the trip maker, the affordability of the trip maker. Then the characteristics of the transportation system. So it involves the the frequency of the transit system, that what percentage of time that you have to wait for the bus to arrive, or the seating capacity of the transit system. Like for example, if you are using the transit system BRT, and you are like sure that you won't be able to get seat because the bus will already be overcrowded when it reaches at the station, so you most probably will decide not to travel in BRT, and you will decide to travel like using a taxi or any other service. So these are the characteristics of the transportation system, which ultimately lead to your selection of the mode choice. And last one, other characteristics include like the prices of fuel, or the tolls or taxes, or fares of the transit system. So here in modal choice, we will be dealing with utility and disutility of any particular mode. Utility measures the degree of satisfaction that people derive from their choices, and it represents the generalized cost associated with each choice. Now the generalized cost, it is not necessary that this cost will be in terms of the money you pay. This cost can also be in terms of the travel time, or the particular discomfort that you feel while traveling in a particular travel mode. The magnitude of utility depends upon three group of characteristics, that is the trip characteristics, trip maker, and transportation system, as we have discussed earlier. Now the utility function is represented by the linear weighted sum of independent variables. This is the basic form of utility function. It closely resembles the any regression equation. U is the utility derived from a choice defined by the magnitude of attributes x. These attributes could be the costs or the times associated with any mode of travel, and these magnitude of attributes are weighted by model parameters a and capturing effect not explicitly included a naught. A naught is basically the constant in a regression term, or it is the y-intercept as we call it in regression. And this utility is negative. So for example, if this utility equation yields a negative value, we will call it a disutility. So the model used for finding out the modal choice is basically multinomial logit model. It calculates the probability of choosing the mode k for independent mode choices. So the probability of selecting any independent traffic mode is basically the ratio of utility of that mode expressed in the form of e raised to the power utility divided by sum of e raised to the power utilities of all available traffic modes. So here we see this example. We have been provided with the utility functions of two independent travel modes, which are basically the automobile and transit, and these utility functions depend on three variables, namely t1, t2 and c, where t1 is the travel time, t2 is the waiting time, and c is the cost in cents. And we have also been provided with the total trips, which are 5,000 trips per day. And the values of these three variables for each mode of transit, like auto and transit, are available with us. So we have to find out the utility functions of these two modes, and from that we have to calculate the modal shares of each mode as well. So for auto, we will put the values of the variables t1, t2 and c in the utility function of auto mode, and we will find out the utility of auto, which comes out to be minus 9.7. Since the utility is negative, so we will call it a disutility. We won't call it utility. And the utility of transit, so we will put the values of t1, t2 and c of transit in the utility function of transit, and this value comes out to be minus 11.55. so this is also a disutility. And using the equation of multinomial logit model, we will calculate the probability of usage of the auto mode. So from this equation, we will basically put this value of utility in the form of e raised to the power minus 9.7 divided by e raised to the power minus 9.7 plus e raised to the power minus 11.55. So this probability comes out to be 0.86, and the probability of transit is basically 1 minus 0.86, since we have only two choices. So the probability of usage of transit will be 1 minus the probability of using auto, and this will be 0.14. So it means that out of the total number of trips which are generated, which is 5,000 per day, 86% of the trips have been performed using auto, whereas 14% of the trips have been performed using transit. So the modal share of auto comes out to be 4,300 trips per day, and the modal share of transit comes out to be 700 trips per day. And so it means that out of the 5,000 daily trips, 4,300 trips have been performed using auto, and 700 trips have been performed using transit. So after solving this example, we have been able to calculate the modal share of each mode of travel used in this example. So the final step is network assignment. Network assignment is concerned with trip maker's choice of path selected between pair of zones by travel mode, and with the resulting vehicular flows on the multimodal transportation network. So this method basically deals with the selection of the path of travel, that the trip maker decides that which path will be more suitable for his journey. And we will discuss the minimum path algorithm in this stage. This is developed by E.F. Moore. The minimum impedance path is computed here in this step, and the minimum impedance path could be between pair of zones, or minimum tree is computed, which contains all the interzonal minimum impedance paths that emanate from a zone of origin. Impedance, as I've already discussed, it is basically the resistance to travel, and it's basically like the psyche of the road user, that he or she decides to travel or decides to select a path that is basically of least impedance. And minimum tree may be numerically described as tree table. So the tree table basically begins at a zone of origin, and it successfully eliminates the redundant route that is not required anymore. The redundant route is basically that route which has greater impedance. So here in this example, you can see that we have been provided with a road network diagram consisting of 5 nodes, and these nodes have been interconnected using the links, and the impedance of each link in each direction of travel has been provided to us in the written in the form of parentheses. So we have to consider one node as the reference node, and we have to eliminate the redundant road. So in this step, we will consider node 1 as the reference node, and we have to select the redundant route, that which route is the route having a greater number of impedance, and we will eliminate that route. So starting from node 1, for traveling from node 1 to node 2, we have basically only one choice, and from node 1 to node 3 we have also one choice. So which means that our redundant route is not the one which is from 1 to 2 or 1 to 3. But from starting from node 1, if we want to travel to node 4, so we have like two choices. We can travel from node 1 to node 4 using the node 2 or using node 3. So we will calculate that which route will be the one having lesser impedance. So if we travel from node 1 to node 4 using the node 3, our impedance will be 5 plus 6, which is basically 11. And if we travel from node 1 to node 4 using node 2, our impedance will be 3 plus 2, which is 5. So obviously we will prefer this route as it has lesser impedance. So it means that the path from 3 to 4 is redundant and it should be removed. So here you can see that we have removed this path. Similarly, if we take node 2 as the reference and we travel from node 2 to all other destinations, so here we have to consider that what route will be the redundant one. So if we travel from node 2 to node 1, so we have this direct route which has an impedance of 4. And if we travel from node 2 to node 3, we have two options. We can travel via node 1 and we can also travel to 3 via node 4. So we will select the which path is the one having more impedance. So if we travel from node 2 to node 3 using node 4, our total impedance will be 2 plus 4, 6. While on the other path our impedance will be 4 plus 5, 9. So we will select the path with impedance 6, and which means that the route from 1 to 3 can be eliminated. Similarly, if we take node 3 as the reference, so from node 3, if we are traveling to node 2, again we have two choices. One is from 312 and the second path is 342. So we will consider the impedance of each path. So for traveling from node 3 to node 2 using node 1, we will have a total impedance of 4 plus 3, which is 7. And traveling to node 2 from node 3 using this path, we will have a total impedance of 6 plus 2, 8. So which means that this path can be removed and we have to travel from node 3 to node 2 using this path, as this path has minimum impedance. Similarly, if we consider the node 4 as reference and if we have to travel from node 4 to node 1, so we will have to remove this path, as this path has greater impedance, and we will have to travel from 4 to 1 using node 2 because this path has lesser impedance. Similarly, if we select node 5 as reference and we have to travel to node 1, so we again will remove this path, as this path has greater impedance, and if we have to travel to node 1, so we will select 5, 4, 2, 1, this route, because it has lesser impedance. Now we will perform an example using the minimum time path method. The minimum time path method assigns all trips between two zones to the links that comprise the shortest path between the two zones. Now this shortest path, it is not necessary that this shortest path will be in terms of length. This can be in terms of the travel time or in terms of any other form of impedance. And minimum time path method is based on the theory that a motorist or transit user will select the quickest route between any pair of origin or destination nodes, which is logical as well, because whenever a motorist or transit user is on a journey, so he or she decides to select that route which has the least possible travel time. So here in this example we can see that there are 12 zones, and these zones are interconnected using the links, and the values on the written on the links are basically the link travel times. And in the question we have been asked that find the minimum path from zone 1 to all possible destination zones for the following network. So we will take zone 1 as our reference zone, and we will first we will perform the tree table calculations, that which paths are redundant, and we have to remove those paths, and which path will be the final network diagram which will consist of all those paths that have the least impedance value. So we have taken node 1 as reference, and this figure shows you the network diagram based on the least impedance paths. So from this example we can see that the nodes from 1 to 2, 3, 7, 11, 8, 12 and 4 are interconnected, and the nodes 5, 6, 9 and 10 are also interconnected, and finally they are also connected with 1. So these divisions have been done based on the minimum path or the tree table method which we have studied earlier. And now we have been given with the data from the trips data from the node 1 to all other possible destinations, and we have to load these number of trips on this network diagram. So as we can see that the nodes 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 11 and 12 are interconnected, and they are also then connected with node 1. So basically we will load the number of trips which are headed towards nodes 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 11 and 12 on this link from 1 to 2. So you can see that these are the trips which have been loaded on this link. Now the due share of node 2 is basically 50 trips. So these 50 trips will end at node 2, and the remaining portion of these trips will be assigned to the link from 2 to 3. So you can see that from in these numbers the 50 number is missing because 50 trips have been ended at node 2 and the remaining trips have been assigned to the link from 2 to 3. Similarly, node 3 will also take its due share of trips, which is 75, and the remaining number of trips will be assigned to the link from 3 to 7. Here you can see in these numbers 75 is missing because 75 trips have ended at node 3. Now if you look at node 7, so two trips are basically originating from node 7. One is originating from 7 to 8 and the other trips is originating from 7 to 11. But at node 11, the node 11 is only receiving the trips. There are no trips which are generating from node 11. So node 11 will take its due share, which is 80, and 7 will also take its due share, which is 60. So all these numbers except 80 and 60 will be assigned to the link from node 7 to node 8. So we get 80, 25 and 30, and node 11 gets its due share, which is 80. Now again two trips are originating from node 8, and node 8 will take its due share as well, which is 30. So 30 trips will end at node 8, and then 4 and 12 are also just receiving the trips. No trips are originating from node 4 and node 12. So 4 and 12 will also take their due share, which is 80 and 25 respectively. So we will assign 80 on the link from node 8 to node 4 and 25 on the link from node 8 to node 12, and node 8 will take its due share of trips, which is 30. So starting from node 1 and up to one end we have assigned all the trips. Now we will assign the trips which are headed towards node 5, 6, 9 and 10, because these trips are interconnected and ultimately they are connected with the reference node as well. So we will assign the trips headed towards node 5, 6, 9 and 10 on the link from 1 to 5. These are 100, 125, 90 and 40. These values we get from this table. Now node 5 will get its due share of trips, which is 100, and since node 9 is also only receiving the trips, so it will also get its due share, which is 90. So 125 and 40 will be assigned to the link from 5 to 6, and node 9 will get its due share, which is 90. Now we can see from this table that node 6 is getting its due share, which is 125, and the due share of trips of 10 is 40. So 40 will be assigned to the link from 6 to 10. So in this method we have assigned all the trips to the links which are connecting the two nodes, and the final network diagram will consist of the summation of all these values. Like for example, if a link has more than two values, so we will have to add up these values, and all those links which have got only one value, so that value will remain the same. So final network diagram consists of all these values. Like we have added the values that were more than one, and all those values that were single values have been retained as usual. So this is the last step of 4-step travel demand forecasting model. Hopefully this lecture provided you some valuable insights into the 4-step travel demand forecasting model. So please provide your valuable feedback, and Thank you. Take good care of yourselves. Bye bye.